This is the Mamiya 645 1000S. In this video, I'll cover all the features and functions of this camera. I'll also explain why I think this is a great option for new medium format shooters as well as seasoned photographers. Let's quickly dissect the name 645 1000S. For anyone new to film photography, 645 is referencing the size of the negative that this camera produces, which is 6 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters. And the 1000S is relevant to this exact model because it has a maximum shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second. Its small and compact size delivers 15 shots on a roll of 120 film, making it the most economical option for medium format film shooters. .645 in general is a great format because it's a perfect step up from 35mm film, giving you about 2.5 times more resolution and detail than you'll get on 35mm film. There's a great lens selection for the 645 cameras. I have the 80mm 2.8 and the 150mm f4. There were a lot more lenses that came with this system, one of them being the 80mm 1.9, which is kind of a legendary lens for how fast it is. But I've been really happy with the 80mm 2.8. It's produced some really nice images. Even at 2.8, it's pretty shallow. Another pro for this camera is the maximum shutter speed being 1/1000th of a second. If you do get the 80mm 1.9 lens, it's nice to have a fast shutter speed on this camera if you're going to be shooting in sunlight or bright light. I really love the eye-level metered prism. It saves me from carrying around a handheld meter. As for most of the Mamiya cameras that were made in the 70s, the build quality is really solid, and I really love the styling and design of these cameras. Last but not least, this camera is pretty inexpensive for a medium format film camera. With film and camera costs constantly rising, I think you can still find these cameras for a relatively low cost. If you're a 35mm shooter and you're looking to get some more detail and resolution in your images, I think the 645 format is the perfect jump up. They offer really great build quality, they're relatively inexpensive, and they produce amazing results. So if you are a seasoned photographer that shoots medium format or large format, I still think these cameras are a great option. It's been nice going back to the 645 format when I'm on a budget or if I only have a few rolls of film left. It allows you to get 15 shots on a roll without compromising a lot of image quality. One of the only true cons I have with this camera is it's a little bit awkward to hold, but I think the results it produces are really worth it, and I never hesitate to pick up this camera. There are some newer additions that are a little more refined, and they offer removable backs, which is really nice to have. Although this camera is small and compact, it's filled with tons of really useful features. On the top left is the frame counter. This is the multiple exposure lever. The mirror up function is really nice if you're going to be taking long exposures. It helps eliminate any kind of camera shake. You can thread a cable release into the shutter button on the bottom of the camera as well. This red button is a battery check. Once you press it, on the other side of the body, there's a little light that will illuminate in green if your battery is good to go. This white button here triggers the light meter inside the prism. In order to take it off, there's a button on the back. You'll press in and turn to the right and it will release the prism. There were a ton of different focusing screens for this Mamiya system. Mamiya also made metered and non-metered prisms. You could also get a waist level viewfinder for this camera, which makes it even smaller and more compact. This is the ISO knob. You can turn this to change your film speed. The large knob on the side of the body is the film advance wheel, a lever that pops out to make it a little bit easier to advance to the next frame. There's 2 shutter buttons on this camera. There's one near the red button. Down at the bottom of the camera is the second shutter button, and the white dots are lined up. The camera is ready to shoot, and if you want to lock the shutter, you can switch it to the left where the red and the white dot line up. Moving on to the other side of the camera, on the top right, there's 2 inputs for flash. The flash sync speed on this camera is 1/60th of a second. On the front of the camera on the right hand side, there's a lever which is a self timer. This is a depth of field preview lever. This camera has a great range of shutter speeds. It ranges from 8 seconds to 1/1000th of a second. If you're going to be using the metered prism, you want to make sure you have the bullseye lined up with the white dot on the shutter dial. When you're lined up on the red bullseye, the camera knows that the prism finder is activated. Once you've done that, you can control the shutter speed from the prism instead of the body of the camera. In order to open the film door, you'll press this button on the back and slide this lever over to the right. The film door will pop open. Once you have the film door open, you can squeeze these two levers where it says 120 and the film cartridge will pop out. Looking into the back of the camera, you'll see the focal plane cloth shutter. This camera does run on a battery, and the battery compartment is on the bottom of the camera. Loading film is pretty easy on this. If you've ever loaded film on a RV67 or an RZ67, it's very similar. So I'd love to hear what everyone thinks about the Mamiya 645 camera or the 645 format in general. I'm brand new on YouTube, so please leave me a like or a comment down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.